medicine that trains your body to fight any foreign agents.
Plants are helpful for the ecosystem.
It's an electronic device for storing and processing data.
The nervous system is all the collection of nerves in your body.
Yeast is a eukaryote.
Welcome to Spectacular Science, where it's all about science, with your host, Akshay.
Hey listeners, welcome back to this episode of Spectacular Science. I'm your host, Akshay. You know, I've been wondering about how some animals, such as fireflies, mushrooms, fish, and even worms, and even microscopic sea animals, make their own light. They don't use the sun or anything. They make their own light from their bodies. They have this amazing superpower that lights up their surroundings. But how do they make this light? Well, in this episode of Spectacular Science, I'm going to take you on a deep dive into the science of bioluminescence. Bioluminescence is basically animals that make their own light through chemical reactions in their body. In this episode, I'm going to take you on a deep dive into this amazing science. It is very interesting, and the reason I wondered about this is because in my backyard, I'm looking out the window right now, and there are so many fireflies out there. You know what? Let's go outside to look at some. Wow, look at all these fireflies. Fireflies aren't actually flies. They're actually a type of beetle. But they get to make their own light. The light comes out of their abdomen. Wow, look at that sparkling display. So cool how they're able to synchronize all this movement. Well, let's get right into it. What is bioluminescence? Fireflies create these glowing displays, mushrooms illuminate a dark forest, and colorful, sleek creatures light up the ocean. These natural light displays come from bioluminescent creatures. Bioluminescent organisms can produce their own light. Bioluminescence is caused by a chemical reaction, and it takes place inside the light-producing organ of a glowing creature. Let's take fireflies for an example. Fireflies make light in their abdomens. The chemical reaction produces energy in the form of photons. Photons are basically the elements of visible light, which is the light that we see around us. Not all bioluminescent organisms light up on their own. For example, some fish rely on its food source to glow. It feeds on tiny seed shrimp, and the shrimp contain ingredients for bioluminescence. That is one example. And there's so many other examples, such as bacteria that help them glow. It's not always a chemical reaction because they rely on others. Other creatures also work together to create light. In the Pacific Ocean, the Hawaiian bobtail squid lights up with a blue-green light. But this brilliant creature doesn't produce it on its own. Instead, bioluminescent bacteria live inside its body, and the bacteria cause the squid to glow. This is an example of a symbiotic relationship. It might sound a bit confusing, but a symbiotic relationship is basically two living things that live in harmony. For example, this is the bacteria and the squid. The squid gets to glow, and the bacteria has a home to live in, and both creatures benefit out of this relationship. Bioluminescence exists throughout the world. Many different types of organisms can glow. Yet most of the bioluminescent creatures, about 80% of them, live in the ocean. They are all found from the water's surface to the deep sea floor. Even though we see all these fireflies out and about, there's still so many bioluminescent organisms that produce their own light near the ocean and in the ocean. The deep ocean is a very, very dark place, and bioluminescent creatures that live in there have adapted to that environment through evolution, and they've developed these adaptations to help them produce light in order to see, or in order to get a mate, or even in order to catch predators, kind of like a fishing lure. It is estimated that 80 to 90% of deep ocean dwellers are bioluminescent, and many use the ability to glow as a tool for finding food. For example, the deep sea anglerfish, has a small fleshy part on the top of its head, and it lights up to attract prey. If you look at a picture of an anglerfish, it'll look kind of scary. It looks like a little shark, but on the top of its head, it has this little tube-like structure that has a little bulb at the end, and that bulb actually glows, and that actually helps attract its prey. The anglerfish uses that organ in order to help it catch food. It's kind of like a fishing lure, but a fish is going fishing. Okay, that sounds a little interesting. Bioluminescence also helps some sorts of mushrooms reproduce. Their glow attracts insects, and those insects carry the fungal spores, which grows into even more mushrooms to other parts of the environment. And fireflies, for example, glow to attract mates. The fireflies actually have this chemical reaction in their abdomen, which causes them to light up. And the brighter the firefly is, the higher chance of it getting a mate. Other organisms use bioluminescence to defend themselves. An example is the click beetle. They have glowing spots that flash at night, and that makes them appear larger to predators. Firefly larvae, also known as glowworms, use bioluminescence to warn other predators that they are toxic. Fireflies have the ability to be bioluminescent since they are little, and they utilize this ability to help them not get eaten and to warn other predators. Bioluminescence is really, really cool. And some people even go to the beaches and the ocean to see bioluminescent algae and plankton in the ocean. It is so cool how nature has evolved all these ways in order to protect itself or in order for it to get food. And this has done it through bioluminescence. Scientists are still learning a lot more about bioluminescence and what makes this bioluminescent organism light up, and all that science and the chemistry behind that. But we do know that bioluminescence is a really, really, really cool feature that a lot of creatures have, and it really helps them in their environment. So cool how they adapted these changes over time, and they've evolved and changed into these types of organisms that have bioluminescence. It's so cool to think about it. What if I make a glow suit for humans? It'll look pretty cool. But before I go to the lab to design that, I'm just gonna sit here and relax and watch all these fireflies. This is so relaxing. Oh no! I just remembered. I forgot something. What did we learn today? We learned that bioluminescence is when organisms produce light through a chemical reaction naturally in their bodies. This bioluminescence can be caused by the organism itself, or it can rely on other smaller organisms such as bacteria. Bioluminescence is used all around the natural world, and it's a special adaptation that a lot of animals have. In fact, 80% of the deep ocean animals are bioluminescent. Organisms use bioluminescence to attract prey, not get eaten, and also find a mate. Bioluminescence is super important for all these animals, and it's a special adaptation that has evolved over time. It's so cool to think about all these bioluminescent animals, from mushrooms to fireflies to fish to jellyfish, and to even algae and plankton in the water. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Spectacular Science. Spectacular Science is produced and hosted by me, Akshay J. Raman. Our theme song is by Chan Ramachandran. Special thanks to Varun Ramachandran. Visit spectacularsci.com, my podcast website, to find interactive activities, articles, and blog posts that will keep you thinking about science. That's spectacularsci.com. Please also sign up for the Spectacular Science membership, where you can get bonus episodes, the fact of the day, which is a fun science fact every day, and bonus activities. Sign up at spectacularsci.com/membership. Also, subscribe or follow this podcast wherever you're listening. It really helps and it encourages me to keep making new episodes. Thank you so much. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of Spectacular Science. Keep thinking about science.